Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, no matter where you are in the world. Thank you for joining. Now, unless you're living under a rock, I'm sure you heard about the lady who wrote a children's book talking about the grieving of her husband and how hard it is and helping her kids deal with loss, only to be arrested and charged for child murdering her husband. What is this world coming to? I tell you, the truth it is.
Joining us now is author of Are You With Me, Kouri Ritchins, to share her 3 C's to helping kids cope with grief. And Kouri, I want to start with your story. What happened in your personal life?
So my husband passed away unexpectedly last year. So it's March 4th was a 1-year anniversary for us, and he was 39. It completely took us all by shock. And we have 3 little boys, 10, 9, and 6.
Do you know what I personally find disturbing about this video? Is how convincing this woman is. I am totally conned by this woman. She could have totally conned me.
I know you'll get asked this question because you're doing another interview tonight with Dan Abrams, who's the legal analyst for ABC News. And Ashley Banfield asked you the question. Any inkling at all that what she was saying was not legitimate, that she wasn't actually grieving?
Right, so Ashley Banfield asked that question. Did you have any spidey senses?
No, I had no spidey senses.
I think personally that it's her cadence and her breathing. I mean, it's just perfectly timed to make you think that this is genuine and authentic. No wonder her husband was fooled. I'm fooled too. It's like, I know this little nice lady. He didn't do nothing like that.
So now the big question, why?
Well, there's some allegation that, Chris, that she had a paramour, that she had a boyfriend the entire time they were married. Eric was a fairly well-to-do man. She came from a life where she didn't have the same means that she had once she married him. And so there was some hint, or at least some motive there, that there was some financial gain for her by doing this. We don't know why people do this kind of thing. If it was just to get rid of a problem and to inherit and get his house and get all the things that you would get if you were the widow of a fairly well-to-do man.
Regardless, I really don't understand why people think they will be able to get away with killing their spouses in this day and age. Everything on your phone is saved, and hardly nothing is private anymore. On Kouri's Pinterest account, there are several folders, but one folder in particular was either created or added to as recently as 22 weeks ago, and it was titled Wedding. Now, most of us women have created vision boards and idea folders on Pinterest, but that typically happens before a wedding. Kouri's wedding was years ago, and she was adding photos including wedding lingerie somewhat recently.
On May 8th, 2023, 33-year-old real estate agent and mother of 3, Kouri Ritchins, was arrested and charged with aggravated murder and 3 counts of possession with intent to contribute.
A Summit County woman who wrote a children's book about coping with grief following her husband's death a year ago, now accused of being the one that actually killed him.
That woman is 33-year-old Kouri Ritchins. According to court documents, she is accused of poisoning her husband just weeks after requesting fentanyl from a dealer. Ariel Harrison live tonight in Summit County with this story. Ariel.
Neighbors who are close with the family did not want to go on camera, but shared with me that they are shocked with these accusations, telling me the woman they know would have never done something like this. Now, we've gathered some alarming details from the police documents associated with this case. A big one, the man who died, Eric Ritchins, believed that his wife was trying to poison him. This is the home where police found Eric Ritchins dead on his bedroom floor in March of 2022. According to court documents, Ritchins and his wife Kouri were celebrating a business accomplishment the night he died. Police say Kouri claims she made Eric a Moscow Mule, which he drank in the bedroom. They say Kouri told authorities that she left to help one of their children and returned to the bed several hours later. It was then, they say, she noticed Eric was cold to the touch and called 911. Evidence gathered in the death investigation revealed Kouri claimed she was away from her phone that night and it was left on a charger by her bed. Teams, however, gathered evidence the phone was in use during that time and sent messages had been deleted. Additional evidence showed Kouri was in contact with a drug dealer in Ogden leading up to Eric's death. The legal documents state she received both hydrocodone pills and fentanyl from the dealer, claiming the drugs were intended for a client experiencing back pain. At one point, police say she requested for, quote, the Michael Jackson stuff, asking specifically for fentanyl. Information from the autopsy report determined Eric died from an overdose of fentanyl 5 times the lethal dosage. In March of 2023, Kouri published this children's book, Are You With Me?, written for children coping with loss of a loved one. Now again, neighbors I spoke with who wanted to stay off camera tell me that they stand by Kouri, but admit that the information they've been reading about this case has been very alarming. Ritchins is expected back in court next week. Reporting live in Summit County, Arielle Harrison, KUTV 2 News.
Dear Judge Mrazek, I'm here today to represent my brother, Eric Eugene Ritchins, whose life was taken in a senseless act of poisoning on March 3rd, 2022. His wife, the defendant, has been accused of committing this crime. Since Eric's death, it has come to our attention that Kouri took out multiple life insurance policies on Eric without his knowledge. I should also not forget to mention the multiple life insurances she has taken out on the boys. If Kouri was in fact willing to kill Eric for money, who would be next? Please protect what Eric put his life on the line for, his 3 boys.
The state has offered substantial evidence that defendant procured fentanyl on more than one occasion, and on at least one occasion deployed that fentanyl to cause the death of another person. As a general matter, an individual who is capable of this kind of decision making is not a good candidate for supervision in the community. Defendant's alleged conduct, as supported by substantial evidence, is especially dangerous. Indeed, these circumstances constitute clear and convincing evidence that defendant would pose a substantial danger to the community if released on bail.
Now, as you just saw, the judge denied her bail because, well, if you ask me, it's because she's a nut. And for some strange, odd reason, she has multiple life insurance policies on her 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old or something like that. What is she planning? So as we already heard and saw, if you've been following this story, before she killed her husband, she got multiple life insurance policies. So what was she planning to do with these multiple life insurance policies on her kids? Scary stuff. So I applaud the judge for not getting this woman bail because clearly something is wrong with her. Now, according to the police, based off of Kouri's Google search, it seems like the motive for this crime is greed and money. One of the articles she read was, if death certificate says still pending, will insurance companies still pay? I mean, that's just like really out there. Another article she read was called, Can You Overdose on Fentanyl? Now, according to the coroner, her husband, Eric Ritchins, died from high levels of fentanyl poisoning.
Now, there is a suggestion, though, that he had problems with his wife and that he was concerned and that he may have even suggested that he thought she tried to poison him in the past. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. And in fact, he told some family members that if something ever happened to him, to check out her, to make sure that she didn't get away with something. He felt that she was trying to kill him. And in retrospect, he appears to have been right.
In 2020, Eric felt like his wife began to act strange. They went to the Greek islands. They went to Greece, and one night while they were on their vacation, Eric told his sister Amy that Kouri had fixed him a drink and he fell violently ill. He literally told his sister Amy that he thought that Kouri was trying to poison him. Now, I think that that's a pretty serious allegation. I don't think that if I felt ill, my first response would be, I think my husband is trying to kill me. So they returned home. He didn't die, but Eric was still pretty shaken up by that Greece trip in which he fell violently ill. And that coupled on the fact that his wife had taken out this money and was doing all this shady things like getting life insurance, lying about money, stealing money from his business. Eric consulted both a divorce lawyer and an estate planning lawyer. Now, what he did, she wants to play things behind his back, so he went behind her back and he changed his will. He formed instead a living trust and placed his estate under the control of his sister, Kouri Ritchins Benson, according to the court documents. He also transferred his partnership interest in his business to the trust and designated the trust as the beneficiary of his $500,000 life insurance policy. Now, Eric didn't tell Kouri what he did, and Kouri didn't tell Eric what she did. So the next 2 years was pretty happy for the family, at least from the outside looking in. That was until 2022 when Eric started to become really worried about his wife's strange behavior again. It was all really around this mansion here. In early 2022, there was a large mansion for sale in the nearby city of Midway, which had become known as the Grand House. The unfinished 20,000 square foot home sat on a nearly 9 acres of land, and it had locals wondering, hey, what they gonna do with that big old piece of property? Some people say that the property was actually haunted and cursed, because everybody that put their hands to it, somebody ended up dead. The person who started the house ended up dead. Another couple who was in the process of buying the house, one of them ended up dead. And now here we have Kouri and Eric closing on the house, and he ends up dead. So who knows? Anyway, Kouri desperately wanted to purchase this home. I don't know, it sounds like there's something kind of evil here. But she really wanted to flip this house and make a profit. But Eric felt like the $2 million price was just too high. It was too expensive and not worth the investment. And this apparently became a serious source of contention. They had many arguments day and night over it. I mean, Kouri was livid. She felt like Eric was being too controlling and he didn't see the big picture, and that Eric felt like she wasn't being rational about spending all of this money.
The future of the home that cost millions of dollars and is in the limelight of a murder investigation that grabbed the national attention, now left with an unknown future.
The unfinished home behind me is said to come with a swimming pool, an indoor volleyball court, a golf course, exercise room, 8 bedrooms and 2 kitchens, and much more. The home belongs to Kouri Ritchins, the Utah children's author who has been charged with her husband Eric's murder. The home cost Ritchins and her husband $2 million and was at the heart of a disagreement between the couple in 2022. The search warrant for Ritchins' arrest says that Eric was planning on telling his wife that they weren't going to buy the home. However, the day after Eric's death, police report that she signed the closing papers on the $2 million mansion. 2 weeks after Eric's death, Ritchins then placed the home back on the market for over $3 million. Officials say that the home was the location for several drug purchases by Ritchins, where she left hundreds of dollars at the home in exchange for prescription pain medication and later fentanyl. KPCW reports that the real estate agent for the Midway home has been its agent since March 2022 and confirmed that the mansion is now under a contract. A due diligence meeting was scheduled for today with the buyer to decide what next course of action they will be taking.
Now, between December 21st and February 2022, Kouri had conversations with an acquaintance. She asked this friend, who was referred to as CL in the court documents, if he had some medication for an investor who was having back problems. Kouri spent about $900 to 15 to 30 pills of whatever. Now, 2 days later, on Valentine's Day, Kouri made her husband a sandwich, and she put a little sweet note next to it. But Eric later reported that after he ate the sandwich, he became very ill, and later called and told his partner and friend Cody that Kouri had made him a sandwich that after he ate it, he began to break out into hives and feeling like he couldn't breathe. Now, in the meantime, Eric decided to let Kouri have her way, or at least think that she was getting her way, by putting in an offer for that grand estate mansion in Midway. And they were actually under contract with the seller, which means that their offer was accepted, but it was not finalized. And according to Eric's family, Eric was actually going to break it to Kouri that they were not going to buy the house. So I don't know what happened from the time that she thought she was getting the house until the early hours of March 4th. But just days after Kouri's secondary drug purchase, Eric would be pronounced dead. According to Kouri, she and Eric have been celebrating together on the night of March 3rd for the closing of this big estate. At around 9 p.m., she said she went to the kitchen to make him a cocktail. Then she brought it to him to drink. Soon after, Kouri said that one of her sons had woken up from a night terror, and she went to lay in the bed to help him fall back asleep. And she said she ended up falling asleep with her son. So, she woke up around 3 a.m., went back into the bed with Eric. When she got there into the bed, she realized that Eric's body was rather cold. So, the very next day after his death, Kouri had a gathering at that home that she shared with her husband, and reportedly was drinking and celebrating that they had finally closed on that house and they finalized the deal on the estate. Unbelievable. It seems like Kouri was finally getting what she wanted, attention and money, but the police didn't like that, and neither did the family. So on Monday, March 8, 2023, Kouri Ritchins was arrested and charged with felon first-degree murder of her husband, Eric Ritchins, 3 accounts of possession of a controlled substance and the intent to distribute, and possession of GHB, which is known as the date rape drug. The people in town have stated that Kouri's mom is currently mentally unstable herself. So now they have lost their father and most likely their mother, and for what could possibly have made Kouri want to do this. What do you guys think? And what do you think the motive was for this heinous crime? Was it just greed? Had she been planning this all along? Let me know in the comments below, and I will keep you guys updated. So make sure you are subscribed and hit the like button. God bless.